Hello, football fans. Normally, I do a video recap usually on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I have to talk about this now because it's really intriguing. So, the subject, of course, I'm here talking about is the NFC West and how crazy, mediocre, and messy it is, and how much fun it is to watch, especially for this fan because it's really crazy. So anyway, the division's pretty cluttered up. None of the records are good, which pretty much means whoever wins the division will probably be the only one from the West to make it. So, who is leading the NFC West with 6 weeks left? Here's your answer. Yes, somehow, some way, the Seattle Seahawks are leading the division. Though an argument can be made that they should have kind of wrapped up this division. After all, they did start 3-0, but all of a sudden they just kept losing games left and right. They lost five out of their next 6 games, but all it took was back-to-back wins for them to move up top to the West, and it's pretty uncanny how that's been going on. That's because the division is just so messy. But yeah, so they beat the Cardinals this week, and now they're up on top of the division via tiebreaker at 6-5. My goodness! And regarding the remaining schedule, it's kind of tough. Here's the remaining 6 games. Here's the remaining 6 games. They have 4 of them on the road. They go to MetLife to face the Jets. Then they play the Cardinals again. This time in Arizona. After that, it's back-to-back home games, but against the Packers and the Vikings. And then they go to Chicago and they go to LA to end the season. So yeah, it's a tough schedule, but it's mostly skewed by the fact that they play the Packers and Vikings back-to-back. So yeah, we'll see how Seattle does the rest of the way. When the NFC West was messy for several weeks, it was the Cardinals who were better factors. The Cardinals led the division for a good bit, for a few weeks, and then they lost the lead this week when they lost to Seattle 16-6. Yeah, the division is just wild and crazy, and I just have to talk about it now because it's very interesting, and I had to write about it. The story on Vocal is the link up top. Check it out where you can. Um, but yeah, the Cardinals, they're now out of first place via tiebreaker, but they still have a pretty good shot of getting something, which is pretty good considering this team was supposed to be still rebuilding, and now here they are tied for first in the division, and they were leading it outright for a few weeks. So, regarding their remaining games, they go to Minnesota, then they host Seattle, and they host New England, and then it's off to Charlotte, and then they head to LA to face the Rams, and then they end the season hosting the 49ers. They have a relatively easy schedule. They have the easiest schedule out of the NFC West teams. So they pretty much have a good chance to make some noise in December and beyond. Sunday Night Football was not kind to the Rams as the Eagles, mainly Saquon Barkley, trounced them. Even so, the Rams are still on the verge of something good here. Remember, this team started 1-4 and looked to be dead in the water, and all of a sudden they're 5-6 and have a shot. Last year, they started 3-6 and were appeared to be dead in the water. They were eulogized. What happened? They won seven. They won 7 of their next 8. Made the playoffs. It looks like the Rams could be on the verge of another comeback that puts them in the postseason, possibly as champions of the West. But we'll see how that goes. After all, here is their remaining schedule. They go to New Orleans, which is basically a bye, but they host the Bills. Then they go to Santa Clara to face the Niners. That's a Thursday game. Then they go to MetLife against the Jets, and then they end the regular season at home against the division. Cardinals first, then Seattle week 18. The opponents have a combined record of 33-33, which is 500 right on the dot. So, but if you take Buffalo away, they have a pretty cushy schedule, but it's not as cushy as Arizona's. So Rams could really do something. We'll see what happens with them, but it looks like they could really make some noise, especially if they somehow beat the Bills after they beat the Saints. Oh boy, you talk about a great chance if that happens. Oh, Niners. Niners, Niners, Niners. It's been interesting for them. Not in a good way for them, but it's been interesting for them. So they've spent the season trading wins and losses. They've also spent the season dealing with injuries. Pretty much everybody gets hurt at different times. Like Christian McCaffrey was pretty much out for almost the whole year until coming back a couple weeks ago. They were without Debo Samuel for about a couple of weeks. George Kittle has missed games as usual, and now Purdy has missed this week's game. Now, as bad as the Rams had it, the Niners had a much worse outing, trounced in Lambeau. But yeah, and as a result, the Niners are actually in the last place in the NFC West. I mean, it's insane. But again, they're only one game out of first place, so who knows? And they definitely still have an outside shot in the division, but here's their remaining schedule. They got to go to Buffalo next week. Yeah, then that's on Sunday Night Football. Then they host the Bears, and then they host the Rams on Thursday Night Football. And then they go to Miami, but after that, Monday Night Football at home against the Lions in a rematch of last year's NFC Championship. And they end the season in Arizona. And that's not good. That's not good. What's also worse is the Niners are 1-3 in division play. So, yeah, there's that again. I mean, the Niners have quite a mountain to climb. They have quite a mountain to climb. Despite this, they still have a better chance of making the playoffs than the Rams do, which I find interesting. But yeah, they have a big mountain to climb. And so that is the NFC West in 2024. Who will win the division? Seattle is in first place. Will they stay there? Will Arizona get back on top and get the West? Will the Rams complete another comeback, go to winning tear, and take the NFC West? Or will the Niners somehow get out of this and show the other three teams who really rules that division? The next 6 weeks could be very interesting. So that is my story about the NFC West. If you like this video, click the like button. If you're on YouTube, click subscribe and want more. If you're on TikTok, feel free to hit that follow button. Again, the link to my vocal story is up top. Check it out when you can. And I'll be back very soon with a recap of Week 12 the rest of the way. So stay tuned for all of that.